Is up, everybody? Welcome in to episode 6 of Scurry and the Scrub. We're checking in on a Sunday morning here. Excited for this episode, actually. I think we got a lot to talk about. We got a couple Creighton games in there. Uh, we actually got a lot that went on this week just in the world and just in the world of sports. So I'm excited. Matt, how you doing this morning?
Good, man. I'm ready to let it rock.
Yeah,
We've,
I'm ready to
we've,
dive into
we've been
this,
like
man.
talking all week. We're like, man, it was
Yeah,
funny because
we've
we
been
got done
saving
on
up a lot of
Monday.
stuff for this. Yeah,
We,
so
we put
and
it
I
up on
think
Monday. We're like,
there was a
Monday,
lot of
we
stuff
gotta we gotta do this. We gotta
yeah, there was a
record
lot of
it.
stuff we didn't get to last week too. So I'm excited. We got two Creighton games in here to chat about, and then dive into the rest. State of the world.
Yeah, what'd you what'd you think of that Providence game? First of all,
The Providence game. I was hopeful they would fight back after kind of coming out so flat, but obviously we saw that it kind of just dug themselves into a hole they couldn't get out of there.
like when that's going on the bench, how long before you sense that? Because it was like two possessions for me, and I'm like at home watching it. Like, when did you?
Yeah,
If you're if you're
no,
if you're in your role, like trying to like be, provide energy from the bench, when do you notice that they're like that they don't have enough juice today?
well, I think it was just visible within Marcus and coming back into the lineup. I think it took a little bit for everybody to kind of see where they were gonna start to be aggressive or whatever. Everyone was just really hesitant, I thought, in that first whatever minute. Everyone was like waiting for the other to attack. Like even when like early swings, everyone was like, okay, is Marcus going to attack now? Is it DJ going to attack first, or is it Denzel going to shoot? Like, what's going to happen? And so it was too much. I'm waiting for my teammate to do something instead of me going make something happen for the teammate. So I think for me, I would have been like within that first four, at least by that first 4 minutes, I would have been like, come on. But it kept going for a little bit. Then they didn't stop the bleeding, and I guess until too late, and didn't get their stride.
That's what I wonder. That's what I wonder about in terms of not having a lot of experience in that bench mob.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
true too.
Because
That's a good point.
if you think about it, it's like it's Jet, Sammy, Devin, two freshmen, like, Roddy, Modestas, two freshmen.
Yeah,
I'm just trying
yeah,
to think like down the line of guys who are like,
yeah,
someone needs to go down for me to see the court. Basically, that
yeah.
our job is to provide energy today. Um, because I wonder like how much they feel comfortable going, kind of getting after an upperclassman and be like, hey, come on, you're dragging out here.
Yeah,
Like, you would have no
need you
problem doing
today,
that.
like
Yeah,
yeah, and especially like in that when you burn that first time out, like when you know you're down and Providence is going on their run, you need somebody to come out and like check you and like hit you in the chest and be like, you know what, like yo, come on, wake up, time to
not
get
even a
going.
coach, right? It has to be like
Not a
one of your
coach, can't be
guys.
a
Yeah,
coach. It has to be your guys because
yeah,
coaches they're like that all the time. It's their job to pump into you that like yo, let's go. So
right.
sometimes it becomes not like robotic, but you just are used to hearing it, and
Hmm.
so you need that from a teammate. And I think you're right. I think it does need to come from some of those guys. That's what I used to do. I used to try to get in chests of guys, Tyshawn, Marcus, whoever was Taz, like get guys going. So they definitely need more of that spark. And you could see how they could turn it around, but that was a weekday lull. And from the jump, they needed more of it. Like that's what
Yeah,
you're right. Like you can't wait till the first time out. You can't wait till that 8 minutes. Like, and they know it, but it's about doing it. So they got
that's
to really
why.
make sure that just doesn't happen again.
That's why, like, I know I don't know how you would have felt about this if you were on the team, but I was kind of glad they lost because I feel like in life you kind of should get what you deserve. So I think if you sleepwalk through that first eight
Yeah.
minutes against a team
Well,
like Providence, right, who's NCAA bubble-ish or whatever, some team you're definitely going to have to face in March, if not a better one. And if you think you can get away, if you win that game, that tells you in your mind subliminally, it's like back there, that you can get away with just dragging ass for 8 minutes and overcome it. And I'm telling you, that should never be like, you should never be able to think you can just flip a switch in the middle of a game. You should be keyed up from the start. So,
completely agree.
so I'm
They
glad they
won't lose that
lost
way
because
again.
they didn't come out against UConn like that,
Yeah,
right?
no. And that's what I mean. So they won't lose that way again. And
Right.
that's why I think it was not a good loss. I don't believe in good losses, but I think it's a learning point, a
That's what I'm
great
saying.
teaching
Like, you
point.
wouldn't have liked to, you
Mm-hmm.
don't believe in good
Because
losses.
you're
You didn't
right,
want
they
to do
didn't
that.
come out that way against UConn, and they won't come out that way for the rest of the season. I
Right.
think they see how bad it is, like how good they're so good. They, like I was saying, I'm sitting there the whole Providence game. Like they could have came back,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, oh, we're that good that we could have came back, but we're also the team that came out slow, and we can't be that team if we want to win a national championship.
It's been that way in all their losses except for
Yeah.
I don't think there was a big lull against Kansas. That was pretty bad. That was a battle back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But like the Marquette game, there was like 9 minutes in there where they scored like 6 points.
Yeah.
And didn't rebound, didn't stop Marquette at all. Let them get going. The Providence game, we talked about the first 8 minutes. Just like think like the Butler game, the last 6 minutes, or the last 9 minutes when they let Aaron Thompson get wherever he wanted to get.
And I think
they
that's
have to lose those
stories,
games in order to learn that you can't
or the
like
theme.
go through these extended lulls because you have to be able to stop it quicker than that.
Yeah.
As a veteran
But
team, you're capable of
you
it
bring
too.
up a good point, because I think one of the themes with this Creighton team is the lulls, because it's in the games that they win big, it's when they go on these runs, right?
Yeah.
You see, like they'll go on like the 9-0 runs, put a team out, but then it's the games where they'll lose, where they'll go on these lulls, they'll get hit with a 9-0 run, and so it's about eliminating that. And I think just in terms of that UConn game, there was no real lull in that game, and it was ugly, but that's how they were able to grind that one out and win, because they managed the lulls. You
They
know
were
what I
in
mean?
control the whole time. They played from
Yeah.
control. So
Yeah.
even when a stretch happened where UConn got some juice and and it was more than Creighton could handle, like that
Yeah.
15-6 run to end the half or whatever. You're
Yeah.
like, oh man, UConn's taking a lot of momentum into halftime. Yeah, but Creighton's still up because they're locked in defensively. They're playing hard. They're flying around. And when that happens, I feel like shots just will they'll be rewarded with that because they're generating good looks. They're playing hard defensively. Yeah, they're getting killed on the offensive glass, but they're also not allowing second chance points anyway. So
Yeah.
it's a meaningless stat in my opinion. And
Yeah.
then all those things will translate because they're doing all the things that they need to do, and results just come from that because I don't know. That's the easy part of it, I guess, right? Because you're not going to miss every single shot you take. I don't know. It was just a grinder of a game, but Creighton was doing all the things that they needed to do from a foundational level to win that thing and stay in front. And then they hit a couple runs and they were able to separate. So
They were solid. They were solid the whole game.
mm-hmm.
I think it was. I wish that was one of the games I text you, man, during, and I was like, I wish I could have played in this game, because UConn plays hard, man. They attack the glass, like they try to get up in you. They try to plug the gaps. Like they play a fun, hard-nosed basketball style, and they embody Dan Hurley. Like you saw him get the tech. They embody that, and that's like, I don't know. It's fun to have them back in the Big East. I really wish I got the chance to play against them, because yesterday's game, it's just like, you think, again, like with typical Creighton teams, you think that run is always coming, but credit to UConn, because they kept like really making it hard for Creighton and forcing tough shots. So definitely a game I wish I could have played in, but glad Creighton could pull that out. It showed a lot. I think down the stretch, though, the maturity to be able to hold that, because again, how many times have we seen the Creighton teams where it's like, oh, they hold this lead the whole game and then they just can't hold it at the end? I think they did show like good poise and maturity in being able to just make sure that game was held at the end, like not making it close, like, in which they've done in the past.
Yeah, you've been drooling about this UConn matchup. I don't know. Part of me wonders if it's just like because you get to be book night or RJ Cole and scout team, and you can kind of get in your bag a little bit. I don't know if that's part of it. Is that
That
part of
definitely
it?
would have
Okay.
had a lot to do with it,
A lot. How
but it
much?
still
Like
does it. I just like
90-10 or
I
what are we
like that
talking
it's
about?
another. I just like that it's another physical matchup for Creighton, like another, not obviously they're different in Providence in terms of that they're not really trying to slow it down. Like UConn has more of a transition and wants to play with a little bit more pace, but I think it's another physical guard play team, another team that really attacks the glass, that it's fun to see where Creighton matches up, and it'll be fun to see for years to come how they match up against this style of basketball.
I just love the dynamic of UConn back in the league because there are like factions of this group of 10 that have been there for the last few years that have different feelings about it. Like
Yeah,
Villanova has won natties plural, so
yeah,
they don't really sweat
yeah,
anything right now. So they're like, yeah, come back in
yeah,
and UConn, it's just another quality win for
yeah,
us. Uh like Creighton.
Well, it's
Butler,
another quality win for Creighton too.
well, yeah, but Creighton, Butler,
That's
and
like,
Xavier are just like, yeah, more new toys. Why not? We're the new kids too. Let's just all have a big party. You know, they're like happy to be there too. And then
yeah.
like Providence, like Seton Hall, St. John's, Georgetown, like Marquette, like all the oldies that are like that were
Yeah.
part of the UConn Big East that saw them leave for the big money, football money, and then like now came back because they're like, we messed up. They're like, no, they're like the scorned lover.
Yeah, but they can't say anything because they haven't won.
I know, but that's why they're mad because they know UConn's a better basketball program than they are.
You get mad when
So
you don't win.
I know, but that's part of it. It's like a jealousy thing.
Upsetting.
They're like, why are they coming? No,
Yeah.
they left.
Yeah.
It's hard enough for us as it is. Now you're bringing them back, and now we got to fight UConn and Villanova to get.
It's like adopting a new brother that's like really good at basketball, and you're like, wait, I was just getting good, Dad. Why'd you adopt a new brother? I was just getting good.
He's like 6'6" and everything. You're like, why?
Like
how am I gonna get
like
any?
6'6" from Senegal? You're like, what?
Like, how am I gonna?
Dad?
Like, how the hell am I gonna survive in this thing? Yeah, I love that. Like, I can't wait for UConn to play Providence and Seton Hall. Like, those are my.
Oh yeah.
There's gonna be fist fights. Like,
yeah, it's gonna be war.
Yeah,
especially when these games. Yo,
like
when these games, give me UConn, like UConn Nova, UConn Providence, Seton Hall, all in that metro. Throw that metro series together again when there's fans, dude. You know people. I'm gonna take a trip down to Hartford because you know that place is gonna be rocking.
Dude, imagine like
UConn Seton Hall at the XL Center, UConn at Providence at the Dunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got.
Because you said everybody says Providence is the most hostile fan base, right? Like when you guys go there, like, oh boy, does that ring true for you?
I don't know. I grew up going to the Providence game, so I wouldn't say because I'm used to it. Like my YMCA teams, like my 12-year-old YMCA teams, we used to like sit in the Dunkin' Donuts section of those games and like I went to like Providence Louisville games like growing up. So I remember it always being like pretty rocking and fun. But so for me, I think just because I'm from here, maybe not. Like I think it's more fun than anything. But yeah, no, it's one of the ones where they're definitely on top of you, and it's darker too. Like they have the court, the lights just on the court. So
yeah.
No, it's a fun environment. It'll be more, and then it's more fun when you travel because UConn's just so close. Like it's really like an hour and maybe 15, like on the way up from Providence. Exactly. So once they bring fans up too, it's gonna be rocking in there.
That's the one thing that's crazy.
There's gonna be shit talk galore. Like
that's the one thing that's crazy about the Big East tournament is like, I don't know if every team does this, but they should because this is incredible campaigning.
Man.
So like whenever you guys have gotten ready to play Providence in the Big East tournament, there's always been like large sections of like the people that are in the arena that don't really have like one way or the other to go. They're just kind of like ready to watch some good basketball and be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Like Providence will send like 2, 3, 4 people up there with boxes, and it's just Providence t-shirts, and they just rile up these like middle ground folk. And they're like, look, hey, sport our gear, root for us.
Yeah.
And they get them jacked up. So all of a sudden, like, it feels like you're on the road and you got all these New Yorkers who are just like there for a good time.
Because they're,
and then they use their New York attitude to root for Providence. And you like feel that energy. You're like, oh my God, this is insane. So like,
but now
Providence has a chance to rile stuff up.
We have a decent amount. So Creighton has a decent amount now. And then watch, it's going to be crazy this year. You think there'll be fans by the. There's not going to be fans.
Absolutely not. Are you crazy? No way.
No. Not even 10%?
Dude, Michigan athletics just got shut down because the new variant came back. Remember that new variant that was like hitting up the UK and was like more infectious and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of their student athletes like came back from the UK and like got like 15 of them. And the Michigan Health Department shut down their whole athletic department. They're not playing a sport. They're not doing shit. That just broke yesterday, like last night.
Didn't even know. That's breaking news.
Yeah, it was like 9:30 that thing broke last night. Like basketball, men's basketball, women's basketball, volleyball, whatever they're doing right now athletically, they're not doing it anymore. Because like 15 of them, like there's like 5 confirmed positives of this new variant.
Yeah.
And 15 that are presumed positives, like waiting for results or whatever. And this is the variant of this is like the strain of the virus that like creates more false negatives.
Yeah. That's what
False
I read
negatives
in
are
the thing.
bad.
That's the
Yeah.
one I read the article about that. That's the one. Okay.
Yeah.
From
So
the
yeah, Michigan's
UK.
already on ice
So
right.
it was one of their players went back home overseas, or what
Hmm.
happened?
Yeah, I
And
don't know.
they
I don't
can't.
know who it is. They
They
didn't
just
name
brought
it,
it
but it's
back.
like someone from. It's one of their players from the UK. So it must be like a soccer player or something.
So
Or
why did they think that was okay? Was it for holidays? Like,
maybe I don't know what it was for, but yeah, they brought that strain back with them, and now it's here, and it got Michigan shut down essentially. So
see, this is
yay!
why I'm like, how dumb can we be? Why are we
I mean,
letting someone go back from Nebraska to Boston for Christmas is one thing, but letting
right
someone go from Michigan to the UK for Christmas
when there's a new
when there's
COVID
a
strain out
new
there,
COVID strain there,
yeah,
and we're still in a global. I think we are, right? Last time
yes,
I checked.
I believe we still are
We do?
based on our headsets and everything. Yeah, we're not.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
not. We're not.
So
We're not out of pandemic life yet.
okay. So yeah. Yeah, I don't think that was smart then. I think somebody in Michigan made an error there.
Someone did, yeah, and now the whole athletic department's
Well,
out indefinitely, is how they would say it in the
I'm gonna
sports
hope
world.
for the let's hope for the best, and that strain did not start super spreading in Michigan, because
Seriously, right? Like that's the. I mean,
that's the last
we
thing
got
we
the
need.
vaccines finally starting to roll out. Oh, here COVID's
Finally
like
starting to roll out.
COVID goes to the off speed stuff. It's like, hold up though, I got an arsenal
Right,
here. Like shit,
right.
damn it, man.
Well, yeah, you're just adding to this week. Like, you're just throwing, even what is this? This broke.
It
You said
happened last night.
9:30 last night.
Yeah, we
So
were
you're
already
breaking
done.
all. I thought we had all the material covered.
I
I
was,
thought we had a crazy enough
it was a
week,
wild night, man. Like I was going over
and
Creighton stuff, and then like
this is
I
what.
was listening to
And
MLK
now you got
speeches, and
me.
then the COVID strain came out, and then the Connor fight happened, so I had to like make fun of Marcus because
See.
Connor got his ass beat. And it's like there's a whole
So
all
yeah, you got a lot. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. But yeah, so it was a crazy week. Had a
yeah.
lot go on. But the one thing we can't ignore, and we did want to touch on, that happened obviously earliest this week, was MLK Day.
I just wanted
And
to
I
know
know,
what I just wanted to know what you were thinking, like, because
yeah,
here's what I don't know. Here's what I don't understand. I can't um relate to it because I'm not a person of color. But like when MLK Day happens, when they honor all the things he stood for, or they attempt to, or they claim to, whatever, whatever it is, because there's certainly a lot of like obvious hypocrisy going on that I've noticed more and more throughout life. I just wonder what that's like for you, for like someone like you. Like, how have you absorbed MLK Day? Because don't you live that every day? So
yeah,
like when you hear that in a major way from like TV commercials, politicians, public figures, like what is that? How does that ring to you? Does it just like you just kind of roll your eyes at it, or what happens?
yeah. So this year was really disheartening, to be honest. I thought a lot of the messages were empty. I thought a lot of the messaging kind of didn't even hit at the real points that Martin Luther King Jr. was trying to hit on when he said certain things that people quoted, or uh, things that people were trying to share on social media, whatever it was.
Is it
I
because of
think
this summer that you felt that way as opposed to previous years?
I think so. I think that, and then along with the fact that I think because we're all isolated, I think people were more apt to share something on social media more so than ever this year. And I thought a lot of it just was either taken out of context, missing the point, or just doing it because everybody else was doing this. Like, and I could be wrong. Maybe this is just a personal feeling, and I felt that way, and I'm wrong by thinking that. But regardless, I felt that, and so it it was just, to me, it was just people hiding behind the words of something that has been painted to us as equality, and how Martin Luther King Jr. has always been this poster child for equality and all that. And we've been sold this actual false uh, sense of equality through Martin Luther King Jr. And I thought a lot of people were hiding behind that, or just putting that up as a front this year. And I just didn't think there was any real meaning behind what anybody was saying when they were actually posting it, and actually, or tweeting it, or saying it, or whatever. I didn't think it was as genuine as before. And maybe that's just because a lot of things were exposed in 2020, or maybe that's just because we see that some people are the ones who say that they're for equality and for Martin Luther King Jr. and stand for what he stands for, but that's easy to stay, and then you can go back to your normal life and you don't actually stand for that. So I think there was a lot of that going through my head this year. And I think I just questioned everyone's motives behind even making a post about it or saying anything about it. I'm like, why do you feel inclined? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel, is it because you actually believe this? There was just a lot of thoughts that went through my head when I saw a lot of people address the issue, and I saw even just NBA, college sports address the issue. I'm like, are they doing this because they mean it, or are they doing this because they have to? Because a lot of, like I was saying, a lot of things got exposed in 2020, and it's like now you just can't hide. Now you just can't not acknowledge it. But do you really mean it? Do you really mean you're fighting for like equity, not like this equality that we're all being fake spoon fed like every day? I don't know. So even now, I just think I think because like where has the dialogue gone since Martin Luther King Day? Like we've had conversations about it, and I think within my family I've had conversations, but where is it just that day we're going to talk about like it? Why is it always going to just be we make posts for that day and then we move on and go back to regular life? Like why is it that?
That's the part of it that got me all riled up on Monday too. Was like, I mean, to your point about the the wave of outspoken support, if you will, for social justice issues and equality and equity this summer. Um, I think the message of, because everything was so loud and the volume or the temperature was turned up to such a degree that it felt like there was like an obligation to speak out, because if you didn't say anything, it felt like you were supporting the status quo that has created these issues. So it was hard to tell sincerity, because it felt like it got to a point, and I don't mean to be so cynical about this, but it got to a point where it almost felt like a PR war was being waged. Like,
Yeah.
who can craft the best, most insightful, uh, sympathizing, meaningful message,
Mm-hmm.
and basically get that social media clout that comes with it. Like, oh, wow, look at this statement here. That's coming from
This
a place
person
of,
really cares about
yeah, that sounds
equality.
real. That sounds genuine, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It felt like we got to a point where it was like, because of how it happened in waves, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
hold up. Now everyone's just latching on at the same time,
Yeah.
essentially. Is it genuine, or is it just because they're trying to protect their bottom line of their business, essentially?
Mm-hmm.
So is it like self-preservation in terms of their own image, or is it an actual, like, do they actually feel empowered to stand and use their voices to lift the voiceless? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that, to me, this summer was like, I don't really know how to sift through what is public relations BS versus what is genuine, heartfelt,
Yep.
like a call to action.
Yep.
And on Monday, it was there again. But and it's, I'm kind of cognizant of the fact that I don't want to speak emotionally. I want to like try to not speak emotionally anymore on these issues, because I
Yep.
think emotions drive just your general energy and anger and whenever you can summon to back up your point. And I know we said we're done being reasonable with the unreasonable, but I still feel like it's important to convey messages in a reasonable manner.
Yep.
So there's a balance that I want to strike there, because I don't want to be so abrasive and feel like I'm attacking people who shouldn't be attacked just because they don't really understand what they're standing for or against. So I do feel like that needs to be handled delicately, so they can understand why standing for this leads to that, which leads to what we saw this summer. Like, there has to be a kind of understanding that it's all kind of woven together. It's not a
All
separate issue.
connected.
So I think Monday got me pretty upset, because I couldn't shake the hypocrisy of celebrating the basically the surface level of what Dr. Martin Luther King stood for. Like, equality is something that's kind of abstract, right? It's everybody get along, like, don't judge people by how they look or how they sound or what they believe if it's not harmful. Just come together. We're all the same. We're all one race. We're all the human race, right? That is a nice idea, but when it comes to executing it at a systemic level, like a government level, from lawmakers, from legislators, to however you create your system of rules, regulations, schooling, businesses, healthcare, taxes, all that stuff comes in that same message, and it's more so that Dr. King and everybody fought for, that doesn't get talked about enough on MLK Day of all days, for crying out loud. So if that's the day where we literally churn, where our antennas are as high as ever, and we're making sure we're honoring what this man stood for, why don't we ever have those conversations?
I think
Like,
that's
we
I
had,
think
what the most jarring moment was for me on Monday? This is going to sound
what?
super silly if people don't
No.
understand it, but the most jarring moment for me, I was watching UConn St. John's basketball on FS1.
Yep.
And they got to a commercial break, and like right before their commercial break, they did like one of those remembrance hits or whatever, where it's like they had like Jay Wright talking, and like one of the other Big East coaches talking, like Patrick Ewing, about Martin Luther King's impact and whatnot. And as soon as they got done with that, which we've already established, it's kind of just surface level. It doesn't really touch on the issues that faced people of color, the marginalized in that country at that time, and still today. And then you know what they went to right away? I don't think it was like intentional, but it's just like it's part of that corporate hypocrisy I'm talking about. It's like they went from showing you a video of two coaches talking about the impact of Martin Luther King Jr., to honor his day, and then they went straight into a My Pillow commercial. Now, if you don't know what
Mm,
My Pillow is,
mm,
so the My Pillow guy, the CEO of My Pillow, who basically does his own commercials, he's like the main
super
narrator
racist.
of them. Okay, he's the
Super
guy.
racist.
He's the guy who was like one of Donald Trump's main
Uh,
supporters of this election fraud narrative, and trying to get all these like votes rescinded and thrown out, and to reinstitute like his presidency and get him his second term and everything. Do you know who that affected? Like, that's what I just want that question out there. Do people understand who that affected? They were not talking about throwing out votes of just anyone. The votes they were like keen in on targeting was from segments from counties that had large segments of the population that were black. You're talking about throwing out black votes to make sure this guy gets reelected and gets to serve his 4 more years and gets to remain in power. And so it was jarring to me to see us go from, remember Martin Luther King Jr., remember all he stood for, here's the impact he had, and then they go right into selling pillows from the guy who like had a major impact on the terrorist attack at the state capitol and trying to throw out and disenfranchise African American voters.
that's
You
terrible.
understand? You
I
understand?
didn't
Like, if
see.
if
I
you're
did not
fully
see that.
aware, everybody
I did
they
not
say the
see
word
that.
woke, right? The word is woke. But if you're
Yep.
fully aware of what's going on in the world, not just in one certain area, but in all, you realize that they just essentially had a fascist hawk his main product, not a split second after we just got done honoring a guy who stood against the thing that guy his ideas. Basically, it was Martin Luther King's ideals versus,
What
hey,
an awful
buy my
back to
pillow
back.
while I throw out all your
What
votes
an
and shit and
awful
get.
back to back.
That's what I'm saying. To me, that was like,
Awful.
I can't process any more of this shit today, because
Somebody should get fired for that. Somebody should get fired
it
for
just
that.
felt like too much hypocrisy.
Honestly, like,
So that's what I'm
and
saying.
so I think the main thing that I get from all of it is just that this message was misconstrued. Like, a lot of the Martin Luther King's message of equality has been actually like taken back from how deep it was, right? Like you're saying, like on Martin Luther King Day, like Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we should be talking about these policies of equality that he was speaking of. We should be talking about these social reforms of equality that he used to talk about, and how to actually make our system equal, right? Like he wasn't talking about, oh, let's treat each other equally. Like
Yeah, he
let's
wasn't trying
Matt
to
and
heal
Jordan,
hearts.
let's make sure
Right.
that's not what he was about. That's what everyone thinks now. Everyone's like, oh, it was about treat others how you want to be treated. Like make sure you treat everyone in your first grade class equally,
No.
because even if they have different skin tones and they're from different places and they look different and they're different genders, no. Like that's all good and fine. Like we all get that on the surface
Yeah,
level.
he
You should
wasn't
always
preaching
do
to
that. That's
he
just
wasn't preaching
that's
to
fundamental.
children.
But he wasn't saying that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what he was getting at. And for it to seem like that, whether it be on Twitter or whether it be on Fox Sports, like that's what the message is. Like I am almost like, why can't we dig a little bit deeper? We have, and I'm not trying to call anybody out or anything. Like I'm not trying to call out Fox Sports or anything like that. I'm just trying to say like there's some brilliant people there, and there's like, and I even saw some segments with guys like giving speeches on all these like what Martin Luther King's message meant to them. But I just wish we could dig a little bit deeper, where we could talk about how he was preaching what, like all these problems we were saying about systematic racism and systematic disenfranchisement of Black people. He was preaching all these things. Why can't we talk about those things and what his solutions were to that? Like I would like that. I would like that to be brought up a little bit more on that day, and I would like that to be the focus of what we're talking about, instead of treating everyone equal. I think we should treat everyone equal every day. I think every day we should say we want to treat. I don't think that should be a thing we don't talk about every day. I think, but on MLK Day, I would like to revise. Like I would like to get into these discussions about like what was really he was really fighting for, and what equality meant to him. Like, and it wasn't just this cookie cutter image of equality. It was like something he had to fight for. Like
it wasn't
what a lot of like, and I even said it to you. I'm like, people don't get that. Like he's painted, in the way we learn about him in school is he was like this. He was the poster child for equality, and he was this like end all be all figure of social and racial equality. It's like, no, this dude was hosed down in the streets. This dude was like ridiculed and banned from places, arrested and beaten, and like all the stuff like
shot
we see,
and killed
like
eventually.
shot and killed eventually. So it's like we need to stop actually talking about him like we didn't vilify him in this country. We vilified this man. We vilified him so much that we thought he knew too much, so he had to die. Like that's he had to get murdered. Like that's actually, why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk about what is it that he knew, that these people were like, we need to assassinate him because he knows too much. He's gonna get too powerful.
As we learn, as we're taught our history, we don't learn about the atrocities of our own doing. Exactly. Because that doesn't, I don't know. I guess I don't know how I would feel if I learned about that as a child. I don't know. But I mean, it is.
Well, I don't think it's about learning it
as
a child. I just think it's about teaching it in the right way. And when you get to a certain age, telling just the truth. I think by 8th grade, I think our brains are developed enough where it can be taught to a way where it's not like, oh, like after, Martin Luther King died, everything was equal and we could all use the same bathrooms and it was all fun and games.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like, can we talk about how it was actually bad because we took that was a step back. Like you can't act like killing a civil rights activist and leader wasn't a step back in the fight for racial equity.
Right. That's what I mean. Like everybody,
I appreciate honoring his death. I get that. Like, and I'm not trying to be cynical about that, but I don't think we're doing it in the right way. I think there's more that can be done to honor that man, and I don't think I don't think an Instagram, Twitter post. I don't think none of those things. We've been doing that for how many years? People have been like how many years, and what's changed? Like I just want something to be different about next year's Martin Luther King Day, like Junior Day. I just want something to be different.
Well, I just want to get to. I want to get to a point where he wouldn't have to come back and say the same things. Because I'm just like thinking about the world today. I'm like, if we
Yeah, why did all his
it's a
speeches
day
still
to honor
apply?
him, but would he be saying anything different in the streets today that he was saying in the streets in the 60s? Because I'm hearing the same things. So it's not like he came out in the 60s and was like fighting for uh everyone to be able to stand in the same water fountain line and eat at the same restaurants and crap, and at the same tables and whatnot. That part of it is so small. I think when people see that in imagery, they're like, wow, I can't believe we lived like that. And it wasn't that long ago. So now think about the other stuff he was talking about, the more important stuff that would have lifted these marginalized communities
Mm-hmm.
up to a point where maybe in 2020 we'd all be playing on a
On an
level field.
equal playing field, right?
Yes.
That's what
So
an
like
equal.
you're
If we
talking
would have
about,
been honoring him,
it's all, you're talking
if
about
we
wealth
truthfully,
redistribution.
go ahead.
You're talking about public schooling, integrating schools. I mean, you're talking about school integration. There was he gave a speech. I'm trying to think what it was called. America's Chief Moral Dilemma, where he
Yep.
talks about the integration of schools, and that just happened in the 60s, right? So at the rate it was being implemented, he said it was too slow, and the rate I think he said it would be 97 years before it would, based on the rate they were implemented, before it would be essentially you'd be getting those equal rights, you'd be getting those equal opportunities. And I thought, and it hit me because I think about my background and where I grew up and what my interactions were with people of color. I don't even remember if I had an interaction with a black person before I could ride a bike, before I was like in junior high, essentially, like I was a teenager. Think about how much of my life I'm used to just seeing the same people who look like me, and then all of a sudden that would seem kind of jarring, right?
Absolutely.
But is it my fault, or is it my parents' fault, or is it my community's fault that I didn't live in an integrated neighborhood or go to integrated schools? Like, I feel like that's out of our control. I feel like other people that are in power and can control that better than we can, because we just move
A
in the
little bit,
neighborhood.
but like
So
a
like,
little.
I think back to that, and I'm like, I had one neighbor my whole life who was black. That's it. One family. In junior high, I think I only had two black kids in my class the whole time in junior high. In high school, I remember distinctly when I was like a junior or senior, there were like six kids that were all kind of friends or whatever, and I think they came from Omaha Northwest. I don't even know if that school's still around anymore. But I think they came from Omaha Northwest and they transferred to Papillion, where I went to school. And I remember the first day I was like, they look, you notice new kids, but they were like, they were all black. They were all hanging out together. They were all in the same area. They all like dress the same, act the same, talk the same. And you're like, wow. So you don't mix I didn't get that like blend of cultures to understand that until late teens. And now by then it's like a really jarring experience. So
I just think
you kind of have like an emotional reaction to it. You're like, I can either embrace that or I can resent that based on stereotypes. And that
that's what I'm thinking,
formulates
how
your racial
dangerous that is.
biases, right?
and think and think about how dangerous that is, because of just the years and years that you didn't know that that was a real thing, because you weren't exposed to a certain type of diversity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because, like you just said, like, you, if you wanted to, you could have completely like alienated yourself from that group of people and been like, because they're different, that's wrong. They don't look like the people that have been here, the
Mm-hmm.
people that continue to be here and that like are in power here, so they are lesser. Like, that's because of the way that like and this is what I'm saying is like which is an issue I wish we could have addressed on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, because this is something that he was so adamant about, like empowering these communities and the power of having diverse communities, because it's like dangerous for people to grow up and then only see their first real set of diverse
100%.
or
100%.
just black people or whatever at 18 or whatever years old, because then that's 18 years of racial programming where you
Mm-hmm.
think that that is bad, and so now how are you going to act?
You don't belong here or there. Like, it'd be the same
You
thing,
think that
and
that doesn't belong.
it wouldn't even just be from the African American perspective.
Mm-hmm.
If like if you're a white family, we're moving into a black neighborhood, it would probably feel the same way. That's
Yeah.
not to say that there isn't a system set up to hold and oppress African Americans, because that we can talk about that for
Yeah.
days
That's
on
a whole
end.
different conversation. Yeah.
But it is about, like you said, that racial programming where you just get
Yeah.
used to what you're used to, and then when you throw in something that
Something
throws that,
new,
yeah, something
something
new
throws it off.
that you're not used to, it's a different cultural aspect. It's different, like it just throws things out of whack for you if you're not used to it. And you have a couple ways you can go. One is a harmful path. One is a path towards opening your eyes and learning that, oh man, society is not about how we look or act, because everyone's kind of got their own differences, but they all can mingle together if they're not harmful. So that's what I mean.
Mhm.
It doesn't always come from a place of like programming to hate. It comes from a place of just bias. Like you have a certain set of ways you're used to, and then if something throws that off at a late stage in your life, like, you know, 16, 17, 18, we're basically talking about a generation of
Mhm.
life at that point, because what are they,
Mhm.
20, 25 years or whatever. um so yeah, that's you think about how much you've experienced up to your 18th birthday, and then all of a sudden you have like your
A new.
first black classmate.
Yeah.
Think about that.
You have your first black friend.
First black
Because I'm not
friend.
saying
Yeah.
I'm not because I'm not saying like these like people are like I'm not trying to say like someone's racist or whatever until 18. I'm saying is it's like because of the systems in play in this world and the way communities are grown and the way the suburbs are, the way a
Hmm.
lot of places are, the way socioeconomics are just in America. Because of that, like a lot of upbringings are just solely like you grow up around in neighborhoods and go to schools with people that just look like you. And
Hmm.
that's true of especially a place like Omaha, because look at how different and segregated Omaha is, right? Like if you look at the surrounding parts, it's like North Omaha, black, West Omaha, white, South Omaha, Spanish. So
Hmm.
it's like this is
How long
all
were
I'm
you in
saying is
how
that
long were you
all and what
how
I'm
long were you
saying
in
too,
Omaha, Mr. Massachusetts kid? How long were you in Omaha?
and I was only in Omaha for 4 years.
And you noticed that, huh?
And I noticed that right off bat. And I noticed that my freshman year.
Yeah.
My freshman year in my education 150 class.
So think about how long it's been going on if you just noticed it in a couple of years
And
being
that's what I
there.
mean. And think about
And
how
think about how
and I
normalized
mean
it is for people.
and I mean even in especially a place like that, how dangerous it is on that
Hmm.
front. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not just saying like growing up in a strictly white experience is dangerous. It's dangerous to grow up in just a strictly to grow up in a place that you're like, oh, it's strictly black, right? You feel like that's dangerous too, because then you're around
Yeah.
other like you just don't know how to act, and then that's where these problems like this is where then there's you don't know how to act around these people, they don't know how to act around you, and then there's a form of hostility, and this is how these bad things happen,
Well, you think
right?
about if you think about what popped off this summer,
Yeah,
when you're talking about
absolutely.
trying to get used to people that don't look like you. What if, say, you're doing something that's, you're breaking the law, okay? But it's
Yep.
not like a violent crime you're committing.
Yep.
You're just, you need to be uh restrained, punished, taught your lesson, essentially, whatever it is, our system of laws. So like imagine you're in that position of not being of being brought up in a certain neighborhood around a certain type of people, and then 4 or 5 people who don't look like you, who aren't from your background, who don't understand your culture and can't like interact with you on just a level basis where you guys can come to an understanding. Oh, by the way, they're also armed. How threatened would you feel? Oh, by the way, don't
Very.
forget that you're brought up, that you have to be brought up your whole life to know the history of what happens to people who look like you in situations like that. Then tell me how reasonable would you act if that situation happens to you over, let's just say, a
This is
counterfeit 20. Oh wait, that did happen, right? Like,
mm,
just imagine how you'd act. And you talk about like just comply, like
it's knowing
all
how to
the
deal.
narratives that come in. That's
It's
what I'm saying. It feels like we're going on tangents right now. We're not.
no, I think we're hitting on
It's
the
all
exact point.
woven together.
I think
It's
we're yeah,
all
exactly.
woven together.
I don't think we're going on tangents. I think we're talking about exactly what we were talking about before. And I think even you want to relate it back to just talking about MLK Day, because like
Hmm.
I'm like, this is exactly what we should have been talking about, like on MLK Day. How the like I would have loved to have held like a open discussion with anybody about why it's so important to grow up in diverse communities and how people who grow up in these diverse communities are better communicators because you know how to talk to people in a way where they'll understand, and you know how to like we can like a situation like you're even saying over a counterfeit $20 bill. You don't think having diverse experience, because if I'm not mistaken, the owner of that store where George Floyd was murdered outside of was in I want to say Indian. I want to say the owner of that store was Indian, right? You don't think that whole situation was a very diverse situation with a white officer, a black man, a Indian store owner, white civilians. You don't think if all those people had more diverse like understandings and upbringings and friends and knew how to talk to people better, that situation wouldn't have gone differently?
Right. I mean, it's only a theory, but it makes sense because you understand
And I and
when
this
you
is
know how to
what like
interact with each other, you know how to diffuse situations better
exactly.
as opposed
And
to
you
just
know how to
escalating
talk to
them
people. We
casually.
don't get to this level of hate and all that we're at in this country because we didn't like we weren't in like we didn't grow up in like a one set way. I think there's just so
Mhm.
much power in diversity, and I think there's so much power in having just a diverse set of people you're around. I'm not saying it has to be your
Well,
direct
because
friends. I'm not saying
tribalism
anything
is bad. Like tribalism
bad,
leads to violent conflict every single
bad,
time. You
bad.
know what I'm saying? And you know the other thing that made me mad this week was I think it was the day after Martin Luther King Day. The outgoing, thank God, the outgoing Secretary of State, who, by the way, if you just check the like if you're a hardcore gambler, if you just check the odds on 2024 presidential favorites, this name pops up quite high on the list
Oh
for
God.
a certain political party that will just leave unnamed just to not make people feel uncomfortable. But the outgoing Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, literally fired off just a thought fart essentially that multiculturalism is something that just
I saw that.
shakes up what our founding fathers stood for.
I saw that.
Multiculturalism, he said that. And I'm just like, imagine the brash nature with which you have to live
Imagine
your
being
life to have the audacity to say he didn't even say he wasn't even just talking about black people, Latinos, Muslims. Like he said multiculturalism, basically mixing of the races and
yeah.
the religions and all that stuff. That's like it shakes the bedrock of which we stand.
And see, this is my
Like
problem. I'm like,
what?
there
In
was probably people,
2020, a presidential candidate, a favorite
but
for the 2024
this is what my
nominations,
problem is.
is saying that
This is
publicly.
this is what my problem is. There's probably people who liked his tweet and all that about that shit and posted an MLK Day quote.
That's right. That was the
And
hypocrisy
that's
part
my
of it.
problem.
Right. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is my problem.
Well, my problem is we might have a presidential candidate who believes multiculturalism is a thing that needs to be combated. Because,
What do you mean?
like, remember how I talked about
we had a president who thought multiculturalism should have
we
been
did.
combated. What do you
We
mean?
did.
He did shit to
But
combat multiculturalism.
let's zoom out for a second here, because as I'm talking, everybody's probably listening and thinking, this white kid from
They probably all turned him off now.
suburban Nebraska, like thinks he's got ideas to pop up about. If he's talking about multiculturalism, you know who he's talking about. I'm I'm 3 generations removed from immigrants who moved here who couldn't speak English their whole lives while they were in America.
Mm-hmm.
That's who he's talking about. He's talking about my great grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And then my grandparents who had to learn English in school and wouldn't be able to under this little multiculturalism reign of terror that we're about to, we would have embarked on. He's talking about me now. He's talking about you. He's talking about everybody who doesn't fit the description in the mirror, essentially. So that's what I'm saying. We honored MLK on Monday, and on Tuesday, that motherfucker said that. And he's a power player in this world, in this government. So what do we? So don't tell me it's so great what MLK Day did, what Martin Luther King did, because we finally are drinking at the same water fountains, and we're finally kind of going to the same schools sometimes, and we're eating at the same restaurants, and we're living in the same neighborhoods. Sometimes we all can get along just if we follow his ideals. There's a little bit more to it than that, because not everyone's on the same page yet. 60 years later, not everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
And that's not, we haven't even gotten into the Voting Rights Act part of it, which was a big deal because you saw, if we're talking about the hypocrisy of it, voting rights was one of the major linchpins of the civil rights movement because of all the Jim Crow laws and the intimidation That still happens today. Allowing felons to vote when they're done serving their time, or when they're not done serving their time, voting from prison. Now go study the drug war. Go watch 13th on Netflix. Go study the incarceration rates of blacks versus non-colored people. Go study it.
And how slavery still exists, basically.
Essentially, they just like changed the name and made laws that enforced it.
It's called mass incarceration.
Yeah. So like, just go study that stuff. Go study the Voting Rights Act. Go study the drug war, and you'll see how it sounds like we're rambling, but it's all woven together. And we're just touching on the surface of it. We can flesh it out. It'll last 10 hours, but we can flesh it out if you want us to. But it's like, ask yourselves these questions. Challenge yourself to learn new things. Because then you'll see that the pain this summer wasn't just about one incident of George Floyd being choked to death. It wasn't about one incident of Ahmaud Arbery being gunned down in the street and hunted like a dog. It wasn't about Breonna Taylor having her apartment broken into, shot and killed, yet no one's responsible, not even the boyfriend who opened fire first. Like, no one's responsible for her death. It wasn't just about incidents. It's not about anecdotes. It's about actual society fighting back against just the will of people to just play on like I said, be on a level playing field. It's all, they're not asking for retribution. Mm-hmm. They're not saying, look, we've been oppressed for this long, so you should be oppressed for that long now, and we should switch places. They're not asking to switch places. They're asking to be in the same place together. So don't honor him on Monday and take your day off from work or whatever you get. Honor your holiday and not actually like study what that day is about. And then turn around on Tuesday and say, just, go back to the way you were and not learn anything from it. It's sickening, like, to see all the politicians who voted for, voting for throwing out, tried to throw out the results of this election, tried to question it, incited that awful nonsense we saw, however many Wednesdays ago, and then still preach that Martin Luther King, that they stand for what he stood for and that they're fighting for that every day. Like that, you're not, because
racism only exists until it tears down the foundation in which supports your life.
Yeah, I've had conversations with people that like don't believe. I've had conversations with multiple people this summer who don't believe that Black people are more racially persecuted than white people. They feel like it's.
I've also had this conversation.
They feel like it's even Steven right now.
Yeah, many people. Even some of the people I work with, they will even say, like, when George Floyd and everything happened, I like immediate reaction. Like, I was like, "Can you believe that shit?" And they're like, white people get killed by the cops too. And I'm like, oh. And then another one. Wait, another one. Well, he shouldn't have been talking back to a police officer. That's what happens when you talk back to a police officer.
Is it? I missed that part in the laws where it said you couldn't talk back to people or you get killed.
I didn't know that was written anywhere. I actually tried to Google that after he said it to me.
Yeah, I didn't find that in the Minnesota statutes anywhere where it said you couldn't fear for your life while you were being strangled to death.
I didn't know that. It must be like in fine print, like really small, because I didn't know that it would say like, oh, talk back to a police officer. Like it's probably really small fine print. Yeah. Knee to neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds and then death. So
right,
weird.
I didn't know that if you once dated a guy who deals drugs, that it's okay for them to kick down your apartment.
Yeah, that now that's on you for the rest of your life. I didn't know that.
But her boyfriend shot first. Okay, fine. Then why isn't he in prison for inciting a gunfight in her apartment and getting her killed? Well, he had a right to shoot because they broke in. Okay, if they broke in, then aren't they responsible for breaking in and starting to shoot at people? Like, no, they're not responsible either because they were just defending themselves. So basically, you're telling me your law sets up for someone to just randomly get shot to death in the middle of the night and no one's responsible. It's just an oopsie daisy.
Well, I don't want to get into that is Kentucky though. Yeah. If you really want to get into Kentucky law, that it's jacked up from the top down.
Seriously. The city gave their family $12 million as retribution. Okay, so the retribution is
you're telling me her life was only worth $12 million?
The taxpayers of Kentucky had to pay for this woman's death. No one in law enforcement is responsible. No one.
You know how disrespectful I actually feel like that is? I did want to hit on this too, because I was listening to a podcast with Steven Jackson and Eaton Thomas, and they were talking about like Steven Jackson was kind of talking about the George Floyd situation. They were talking about some of the like attorneys like Ben Crump and all those guys who are supporting George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and what have you. And what killed me is like where they talk about how much money like these families make in settlements after like all that. It actually kills me because it hurts me more to see how much in these civil, I know there's a lot more factors here and I'm not trying to uh like demean or whatever, but it kills me to see how they try to like tell me a human life was worth $12 million. And I know that's not exact all they're trying to say. I know there's so much more to it than just that, and it's not as black and white as I'm making it out.
There's
But
a number. There's a number
come
on
on.
an
You're putting a
atrocity like that.
number
Yeah.
on George Floyd. Like you're saying he was worth this many, like his life was.
Not even that his life was worth that. It's like killing him was worth that.
Killing him was worth that.
Because his life didn't just expire. It was taken. Hers was like in violent manner. So you're telling me
violent manner. Yeah,
what you're saying with a settlement is you're putting a price tag on the act, not on what that person was worth. Like you're putting like you're saying that person was worth this, and she was taken out like that, and that's how much that costs us.
Yeah, it just don't sit right with me. It never will. It never will.
I agree because that's not justice. That's just some kind of like, I don't even know what that is.
That's like, oops, here's some money. I don't know. And I mean, like, and I'm asking
anything. That's why.
There's no solution to that. I mean, it's a human life, man. There's nothing I can say here and there's no amount of money it could be $1 billion and I'd still be like, really, like $1 billion? Like, I don't know. I'm just.
Well, that's what it comes down to. It's like, well, when we want to raise the minimum wage, the federal minimum wage, when we want to provide healthcare for everybody, universal healthcare, when we want to funnel more money into public schools and create better education for communities that don't have opportunities to learn.
Yeah.
The question is always like, well, who's going to pay for it? Well, I mean, you just made the city pay for it. You just made the city pay for you going a wild west on some chick's apartment. You almost killed their neighbors and their kids. They're getting justice because that's the only charges that got thrown at the police officers was for stray bullets that went into their apartment, not the bullets that went into Breonna Taylor's body.
Yeah.
So you said that's worth what, $12 million? So someone's paying for that.
Yeah.
So why can't we pay for? Why you tell me we don't have enough money to pay for the whole?
That's what I'm saying.
country?
We got $12 million in the bank for a fraud cop, but we don't have $12 million to go fund inner city public schools.
Yeah, and then everybody like recites the national debt and everything like that. Like, do people realize the United States
money on the military?
Well, hold up though. Do people realize the United States prints money, right? Like we owe ourselves. Like, I mean, if you were borrowing from yourself, don't you just like create your own? Like, do you have to? What are you gonna start a war with yourself to pay yourself back? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, how are you gonna? What's the loan shark? Who's the loan shark in this scenario? Like, who's coming after you and like capping knees because they owe you 50 or whatever? You know what I'm saying? Like, we owe ourselves. Who's gonna pay for it? We are. We have every time we need the money, we find it somewhere. You know, just fire up a printing press and get it going because we need this shit. This is what creates the inequality because not everyone's on a level playing field from the jump.
It's ridiculous.
They're born into life where they have a higher mountain to climb than other neighborhoods, other communities. So America shouldn't be the land of like where you're fucking born, or like the land of who your parents are.
Into.
Yeah, I thought it was a land of opportunity that everyone has the same chance at. That's not the case right now, and that's why everybody's upset this summer.
It's not the case.
And if you're combating that for whatever reason, just challenge yourself a little bit.
Well, yeah.
You know, write down your reasons, study them, and then study these issues that you keep hearing about that you feel like are radical, that you feel like are
and please come back at us. Like and please, if there's any information we need, please. I say every week when we get into this, but I will throw out my personal.
I will throw out our personal emails. I want questions. Fire up.
Too.
Yeah,
I want questions. Everything. Like I would love to like dig deeper into this. If there's something anybody wants to call me out on, I'd love it. I'd love to talk about it. Like because there's so much I'm trying to learn from having these conversations for real.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. We could go 10, 12 hours if we wanted to on this stuff. So whatever you think we're leaving out, feel free to hop in and speak your piece because there's an answer to it. And
There
it's not
always
what you
is.
think.
So
Like
we
this,
just got to
that's what I
get there.
mean. I said it a couple weeks ago, but it basically is true now. If you don't stand for progress, you stand for hate
It's
because
true.
that's the only options. You have to move forward. Otherwise, what are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Yeah. You're
If
moving
you sat there
backwards.
this summer and said, "Meh," that means you're coming from a place of privilege where it doesn't affect you, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's what I mean. And if it doesn't matter to you, then it's going to continue happening because you do nothing to change it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where you're enabling the hate part of it. The
Absolutely.
progress is where you actually feel
Mm-hmm.
compelled to change some of your beliefs and behavior, and voting is the way to do that because
Mm-hmm.
you elect leaders who will enact some of the policies they stand for. Like we did not do we did not do a good job of I'm glad they're in charge based on the other option, but
Mm-hmm.
we did not do a good job of selecting the most progressive
No.
people to lead the
No.
country.
Not at all.
So we've still got a ways to go here.
We got a
Okay.
ways to go.
This was like a
I actually
normalizing
saw a
this was like a
crazy stat.
normalizing effect we did with this election.
Check it.
But we
I
got more
saw
to
a
move.
crazy stat last night, and it was like I got to find the exact source, and I'll send it to you later. But I saw a crazy stat last night that was like the average age this year of somebody that voted was like 38, and it was like the average age of someone in office is 68.
Yeah. Right.
Tell me about a divided country.
Well, tell me about life experience. Because
Oh yeah, no life experience between the two.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
Completely
what
different.
kind of communities did those 60-year-olds grow up in?
Oh,
Most,
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's what
So,
we're
like, how
talking
can
about.
they
That's
do they
literally
empathize with
everything
what
we've been
happened
talking
this
about
summer?
today.
Yeah.
Everything we've been saying.
Yeah.
These people, like, and I will say to throw in a real story to make this seem very, very real, right? Let's throw it back to Creighton basketball, right? When everything goes down, George Floyd, unrest, we want to get out here and like everybody at Creighton basketball, this was like right when it happened. So we all as a team, we wanted to put a message out there. We wanted to have dialogue with all coaches. Like when it all happened, like I remember immediately, probably 2 days after I talked to Mac, and what he said to me, and he's been trying to push this envelope forward all year, and I salute him for it, where he has like Dame or Denzel or whoever it is on the team share some of their message. Like I think it's on the big screen before games, or they posted on Twitter talking about just their feelings on uh, social injustices, racial injustices of the country, or just their personal experience growing up. Like
Mhm.
right, because and I think it's great because the one thing Max said to me when he called me a couple of days after the George Floyd murder was he was like, look, man, like Scurry, like, I know you and I know where you come from. I know how you were raised. I know your upbringing. He goes, but these people don't like, and he was referring to just Creighton fans, Creighton boosters. Cause he, at the time he said he was on I think he was on a golf trip with some of the boosters or with some other coaches, one of the two. And he was just like, um, some of these people, they just don't know your story. They don't know the story of a Jordan Scurry or Damian Jefferson or Denzel Mahoney. They don't, they've never had, and talk about a place of privilege, like you were saying before, they've never even had to think about it. Why? Like from your position
Yeah,
as
you wouldn't have to.
someone who's a Creighton
Yeah.
booster, you've been born into money and you have a steady, like your life was kind of set up for you from the moment you were born, right? But like you don't have to think about the life of a Jordan Scurry or like anybody else because
Mhm.
of where you're at. And I think a lot of these people in offices that we're talking about now, like if the average age is 68, these people never had to think about some of these injustices that are going on now. And now because they're national news and really going on, they're forced to and don't actually know how.
Yeah,
So I think as
I
long as
totally
we
agree.
keep like, and as long as we keep pushing this envelope forward of like progress, 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 because that's not something I don't think at least that these 68-year-olds like in these higher level politicians ever thought. They were like, there's just a set way that government and the system goes. There is no like progress was never the thought there. And I think as long as we keep saying progress is part of that, people will start to take notice to it at least. Maybe they won't get it at first, but they'll start to take notice, and that's when we get somewhere, man.
Well,
For
that's why
real.
the conversation has to continue.
Yes.
Because if it goes away, it leaves your mind, it leaves the front of your mind, and you don't focus on it anymore.
Absolutely.
And then when it happens again, you just think it's like an isolated incident, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's a systemic thing.
Yes.
It's like I said, you talking about people that are of that age and of that upbringing and have no understanding of who Jordan Scurry is or who Damian Jefferson is or where they're from or what they've gone through in their life. And then you think, just go back. I mean, just to relate to it personally, I just told you a few ticks ago, 18 years into my life, I didn't know how to interact with that. I didn't know what that was about. It took me another 18 years of interacting with people like you to understand it, that there are different backgrounds, different people, and not everybody's life experience is the same. So it took me half my life to realize I didn't know it, and now the second half of my life to understand it to the point where I'm talking about it in this manner. You understand? So yeah, now you mentioned the people that are twice my age that have had no prior experience of that. Imagine what it's like trying to learn that at that age. Like, how would you even embrace that?
Yeah,
it's like it's almost an impossible task.
Because
that's why this conversation needs to continue every day, everywhere until the changes are enacted. It's not about the narrative anymore. It's about the ideals, the policies, the laws. It all has to change. You got to shake it all up because it's not right now. It's affecting a large segment of the population. People, you can't, how do you live? How do you live in fear like that? I can't imagine how your hearts don't explode at like 10 years old of all the anxiety that you're going through. Just if you are cognizant of that experience and knowing that every waking moment could be the wrong one that you're walking into, and that's the end. I mean, go back years. Like, how old was Trayvon Martin?
12, 13.
I mean, yeah, teenager, right? 15, 16, right? Tamir Rice, 12. Like, think about that. They didn't even get to the point in my life where I finally like woke up to it, where I was like, oh wow, there's different people out here. And I should try to like learn what these cultures are about and see if, try to mingle a little bit, try to get outside my comfort zone. They didn't even get to that point in my life where I got to that. So what did they experience at that point? And now we're talking about 60-year-olds who probably haven't either. They didn't even get a full life. They didn't even get
outside your comfort zone.
Challenge yourselves.
Learn.
Always be learning.
Please.
Because at the end of the day, if you've got a good heart and you're well intentioned, you're not going to not be moved by these issues.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah, if you hate people, then you probably won't be changed. But we all at least know where you stand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you can't learn about these issues and not be moved to action. Like, you just can't. You can't not be inspired by the emotional toll that's being, carried by these people. You can't. You see it on their faces, man. I don't know how many times I had to watch a coach this summer, just like a coach or a player, just like cry on camera. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but it's like, that shit's heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, it sucks.
But that comes from the rawest place. That comes from the rawest place they feel.
Newscasters, all of it, broadcasters, everyone, man. That shit hit everyone.
That's so raw.
You can tell who like really, and especially from those, you can tell who really is feeling it versus not, because it's just the times in my life where I felt that way. Like, it's just overwhelming, man. Like, it's like, wow, shit is really just stacked up against me. Like, and that's just like, I think people are really, and I'm saying like white people, white coaches, white players, I think they're really like, wow, we're starting to realize that. Like, that was like an everyday thing. And so that's why, again, we just need to keep having these conversations, because the more that people can step into, I'm not even going to make it even deeper than this. The more we can step into just feeling more and more for another person in our lives, the better off we're doing. Mm-hmm. The more we can get to a place where I can look at you and say, I feel more Like
Empathy.
I understand your situation more. I understand where you come from more now today than I did yesterday. Better off we'll be.
For sure. Because then
Better
we
off.
can solve problems together.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we
Exactly.
do it. We understand
and
and we
that's
feel
the
it,
opposite
and
of
we're like,
conflict,
okay,
right?
that's a problem.
Solutions.
Yeah,
It'd be
we
nice
can't.
if we were coming up with solutions all day instead of
Yeah, where it's not
conflict.
just,
Like,
I'll just dismiss that. It's an isolated
yeah.
incident. It'll take care of itself.
Oh yeah.
We have a system designed to help that person eventually, right? If they do the right things. No, not always.
Except no, that
Yeah.
system is out.
Like I said, study the Voting Rights Act, study minimum wage laws, study everything. It's all woven together. All of it's all connected. Study the drug war. Study the war on drugs. Seriously, study the war on drugs, and you'll be like, "Holy shit! I understand all of this right now."
You'll be like, Reagan did what?
You'll find out like 85% of your
Reagan
stereotypes,
what?
as brought up in a white neighborhood in white suburbs in white schools. If you study the war on drugs, you'll learn 85% of where your stereotypes are born from.
Oh, absolutely!
Like I guarantee it.
Go even watch the crack epidemic on Netflix right now. Like it is really good. It'll tell you everything you need to know. That's the shit they hide from you in school. If anybody needs the information you should have learned in school, that's the shit that America is so embarrassed that they won't tell you about in school.
Those are the horror stories.
Those are probably the years.
Yeah.
Right? Because you go like, if you think like Nixon, Reagan, all those years they don't tell you about. Mm-hmm. They just tell you. That's what I hate about. I don't know about your middle school, but the way they taught us and shit, they were like, yeah, Watergate. I'm like, what is Watergate? Like, I don't know what that means. Like, did he build a dam and it broke? Like, they fired him because of that? Like,
when I was in middle school, Bill Clinton, the president of the United States, was getting impeached for lying about a blowjob. So,
you were Clinton in middle school?
Yeah, I think I was like 7 in that.
Oh yeah, so you had you see. I only found out about the Dave Chappelle thing. The Clinton Dave Chappelle jokes when I was like way after Clinton that had died down. Because I was young. Because
I remember his bit. It was in Killing Him Softly. I remember his bit.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I only watched Killing Him Softly when I was like probably 17. So that was like 2015.
No, I'd be over at my grandparents' house and they'd like have that. It was on 20. I was on the TV 24/7. All you heard about. I'm like playing with like action figures, and it's like, they're talking about like the president getting a blowjob and stuff, and like basically what was embedded in my brain at that point in life is like blowjobs are bad. So, all right, well, okay.
Oh well, you had the wrong. I mean,
I'm just saying that's what.
See, America tries to paint
everything. Back then it was okay to impeach the president
black is bad,
blowjob, but now
blowjobs is bad.
Yeah,
they don't know what they talk about.
But now it's like we can't impeach a president for inciting a domestic terrorist attack. That's all of a sudden a debate now. Back then it was like a debate about whether a president should be able to get a blowjob in the Oval Office. So that's what. Yeah, that was my.
We've come a long way.
Experiences in
come a long way in America, huh?
Yeah, that was the most controversial thing I learned about in school. Was like, here's why it's bad to lie about cheating on your wife, everybody. Oh, okay.
Jesus. You know what was not controversial though? Connor got his ass knocked out last night.
Dude. Oh my god. No, there was
Connor got his shit rocked last night, bro.
There was no controversy surrounding that at all.
I was surprised though. I knew it was coming too. Did you not know it was coming? When
did you know it was coming?
Because when Poirier in that, like, he started just railing off punches, and Connor was just like,
"Oh well, then I knew he was already fucked." But
like once Poirier started throwing like combinations, and just you were like, "Oh, one of these is gonna connect, and it's over." Like he just started going ham, and you were like, "Oh shit! If it just literally connects a little bit, Connor's done right now."
Well, here's the thing. Like I thought it was like one of these little hand-picked, like, get Connor back up again type of fights, because he's already starched this dude. And I'm just like, Poirier is chinny as hell, and he's like war-torn. He's been in so many, like, just absolute slugfest. It's like, can this dude take Connor's punch anymore? Like, I don't even know. And then he comes in, and the thing I noticed about Connor is like he is not evolving at all. He's still that same, like, he'll shoot that right straight, and then he'll throw that left hand, and like
He's like Popeye the Sailor Man. Yeah.
yeah, he basically just tries to put you away with the same old stuff, and it's like, dude, you're up in weight now. You got to like mix things up, change your game. You got to evolve a
You
little
think
bit.
he got
because the
tired
same
quick?
old tricks.
I thought he got tired quick last night.
I don't think he got tired. I think he got hurt because he's carrying.
More hurt?
I mean, I'm just saying his power has not.
Yeah.
His power that knocked everybody out at 145 that
Yeah.
made him the star that he is.
Yeah.
He's not played up yet.
Yeah.
Like think about all the stuff he hit Eddie Alvarez with, and he didn't even KO him. He just put him on Queer Street, you know?
Yeah.
Like Cerrone, that was a work. I don't even want to talk about that fight. Like Cerrone took a dive.
See, everyone.
So he's 3-3.
Everyone was more hyped on that one though.
Well, it's because you put him away quick, and they didn't realize. Oh yeah, Cerrone was just in there for a payday. Like he didn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready to fight somebody. He even admitted that later. He admitted that like a week later. He's like, "Yeah, I just didn't really want to be there fight week and stuff. I just wasn't like there." I'm just like, "Yeah, we could tell because you folded
the same shit in a week."
Yeah, because you folded like a lawn chair in like 30 seconds flat. So we could tell you didn't want to be there. Glad you got paid for it though. So he's 3-3 up above 145 right now. And all three losses are stoppages. Like he's gotten like Nate beat his ass and choked him out in round 2. Poirier just KO'd him, stiffened him against the cage in round 2. And then the other loss is Khabib just absolutely ragdolling his ass and choking him out. And dropping him with like
I don't think he'll win another. He disrespected Allah. Now he hasn't won a fight since. You can't just disrespect Khabib and Allah and that man's family name. And expect to win a fight after.
That's true. Yeah, he did mess up. But I'm saying like, if he's like I'm totally vibing with Khabib right now. If I watched last night, I'm like, okay. So the dude I saw the dude who I already choked out, knocked out the dude I already choked out too. Like I've already beaten both their asses. Like why do I need to come back for this?
And it's so true because the thing I thought after that fight is I really was I was on the phone with my pops. I was like, well, first of all, happy I did not make a bet, and then secondly, I was like, yo, this dude is like Khabib is still he's like in a different world than all these.
Different. Like he's just
different.
He would kill them all.
Kill them.
Smash them.
Kill them.
Like Michael Chandler last night was kind of intriguing because he's a really high-level wrestler and those hands are serious. But I feel like that's also what Gaethje did. Like he had serious hands, actual really good boxing, and good wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
But Khabib still pressured the shit out of him, put him on the back foot the whole time, made him uncomfortable as hell. And once it got to the ground, he got worked over bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like Khabib's just different. So if you're talking about trying to inspire this dude to come back, I don't think anything that happened last night is going to do the trick.
Yeah.
If GSP comes out popping right now and he's like, "Hey, I want to fight Khabib, let's do it."
If I was Khabib and I just watched the
back.
highlights from last night, I'd be like, not good enough. No, take back. New candidates. No.
Yeah. boring old fighters.
So get me Bear. Get me Bear. Bring Bear.
There was nothing about the Conor fight that was competitive.
I'd pay more to see Khabib fight a bear than I would any human being.
Yeah, that'd be a good scrap. But I feel like there's a lot of free YouTube videos of that already happening, so you can check.
I know, but I just want to see it in a cage,
like an actual trained bear,
like an actual trained bear with
like a good jab and stuff. Some good low kicks. They're not very. They don't have much dexterity in their lower half, but you could like, get some calf kicks off or whatever.
Yeah, definitely something like that.
It was just wild how Conor never checked any of those calf kicks until it was like too late.
Yeah, and then he walks out of the
He was on a crutch after the fight.
Yeah, you know how bad that must have hurt?
Seriously.
He probably didn't sleep last night. That sucks.
Well, I just like the way that fight ended was like, oh my God. He got whooped, dude. I just don't know if I can believe the way he talks anymore.
I can't either. That's what I was just about to say.
So that's what I mean. For a Conor fan, I haven't been a Conor fan. I've been like the guy who always wants to see him get knocked out on his face. So like, but he talks like he makes you believe in his.
Tough now. It's tough.
What's left
now because what he says after. I miss when after even when he would lose before, after he would still be like, it was bullshit. Like they should have let me fight more. Like whatever it is, like he just put in his fans. He like hyped us up, and we were like, okay, like at least like he's not like going out sad. Like last night he was like, yeah, I got work. I'm gonna go back, hang out with my family,
Dude.
calm down, have a nice chill night. I'm like, no, go get blackout and then start training again tomorrow for your next fight. Like,
learn some new tricks. Yeah.
yeah.
You know what's funny is like Marcus, you knew Caleb Joseph, right? Like, so
Yeah.
Marcus and Caleb, big Connor marks, right?
Yeah.
So after Khabib just washed him, right? And it was funny because I was like talking trash before that. I was like, because Khabib had that like weigh in where he's like, I'm gonna smash your boy, where he basically told all Connor's fans like, shit's about to go down tomorrow. Like, you guys don't know what's coming. I was trash talking Marcus. I was like saying smash your boy like all day at practice on that morning or whatever, that Saturday. Like, smash your boy. And then he did. So the next day I was just like, can't say nothing. But then Connor comes out with that Instagram post where he basically goes round by round, analyzing all the ways it wasn't as bad as it looked, and like how he'll whip him the next time out.
If you have to say it wasn't as bad as it looked.
Connor and Caleb got like laser focused at like when I was like trashing that. I was like, he's full of it, man. Like, nothing will change in the next fight. They were like, well, why is he wrong? Like, what's he wrong about and stuff. That's why we gotta have Marcus. We gotta try to have Marcus on.
We're gonna have him on. Don't worry.
Like, it was like, what's he wrong about? And I'm just like, what they stood for a whole round. Round 3 was all on the feet. Like, did Connor even come close to looking like he could put Khabib away? Khabib stood in his face the whole time and like just rolled with punches, flipped shots. Like, that dude is on a different level. Like, Connor's got he hits hard with his left hand and he's got some smooth boxing, but Khabib wasn't sweating any of that. He stood right in front of him for 5 whole minutes. He's like, all right, I won't take you down this time. We'll play your game or whatever. And it didn't even come close to being in danger at all. He didn't even get hit with a shot that put him wobbly. So it's like, why would that change? Dustin Poirier came out and took Connor down right away.
I know.
Khabib would pick him up and throw him out of the cage.
I had way more faith in Connor than he wanted to go out and show us today.
I just want to see how Connor fans are going to move forward with him, because he says the same stuff to like hype up. He's like, oh man, I feel like the best ever. My camp was top notch. It was the greatest. I feel like the greatest version of myself and all that. Like, he does that every single time. And I'm just like, all right, well, you kind of got to show everybody.
Yeah.
And then
it'll be interesting. I want to see how I'm just more interested to see how he's going to change like his whole like beast perspective, because like he's a dad now and he made it like very apparent in his last post-game, like in that post-game interview or post-fight interview, because he was like, I'm going to go back and hang out with my kids and wife. And I'm like, that wasn't you before. Like, you were Playboy killer Connor, and now what is this character arc we're doing here? I don't know if this is good.
Dude, wasn't it weird, right? Like hugging Poirier and like I was like, wait, I thought your whole
I was like,
you're
just and he pulled up in the same suit, and I'm like, but before it was like, I don't know, it just didn't have the same bravado it used to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, plus he talked about in the cage last night, he's like, inactivity. This is a product of inactivity. Like, ring rust is real. And I'm just like, ring rust is only real if you spent like 11 months partying and then like got ready for your 8-week camp or whatever. Yeah. Because then you didn't level up at all in between fights. You just got yourself.
I'm like, bro, we were shut down, locked down in COVID. Like, I don't know if you didn't learn no new kicks, no new punches.
No takedown defense, no jits.
He didn't play no Ultimate Fighter, nothing. He didn't learn any.
No, he just came out with the same old tricks, and then he got whipped.
Mortal Kombat, maybe? Nothing.
That's what I'm saying. Go back and watch. Like, they fought 6.5 years ago. Connor looked like the same exact fighter. Poirier looked way different. Not just physically, but like with what he was throwing.
Yeah, it looked like,
so it's like
one fighter combos.
Yes. Yeah. One fighter evolved his skill set. The other one was like, I can lean on this.
That's what I was saying. Good. Like, I was like, Poirier started throwing these combos. I'm like, dude, once one of these connects, Connor's done.
Yeah.
Nothing Connor. There was no point. I was like, oh, when Connor throws that, if that connects, like. Poirier's
also,
done.
Why did Connor scrap that little wide stance of his? Why did he go traditional boxing stance? He doesn't even have like a good jab.
I thought it was worse for him. I thought it was worse for him. It opened him up more.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It made him way more hittable. Like, the whole thing with his range is like he keeps that like lead hand out there, and it's like hard for you to get into range. And because of his like wingspan, he's got that 74-inch reach.
I don't know.
by the time you get into like shooting range for your shots, like he can still touch you. That's like the whole deal.
We're doing a Scurry in the Scrub live watch next UFC fight. Next intriguing UFC fight. We're gonna go live and see how many people tune in, and they're like, "What are you guys talking about? I want to do it."
Yeah, I could do it.
That'll be fun.
I love all that stuff.
Speaking of things to watch, who you got today? I never even asked you.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm gonna be split screening because Creighton volleyball plays at 2, so I'm gonna have like the Brady and Rogers at the same time. Dude, I'm always riding with Brady. I can't.
Yeah, I can't bet against him.
I can't. Plus, I've been arguing this whole time.
Antonio Brown is out. Antonio Brown is out, and I thought that was going to be the advantage. I was like, this is what's going to set him up because I'm like, cold Lambeau. You know who's used to playing in the cold? The guy who was in Pittsburgh and the guy who was in New England. And so and then also we have like Gronk, who's built out of like machinery, so he'll be fine in the cold too. And I was like, oh yeah, this is a typical don't bet against the Pats. I mean, wait, don't bet against the Tampa Bay Bucks game, and don't bet against Tom Brady game, and they're gonna obviously end up in the Super Bowl. But now with AB out, I think it'll be more of a game. But I still think, man, I just got a weird.
Oh, so you were thinking it was gonna be a whooping, huh?
Yeah, I thought the Bucks were gonna whoop them. I thought it was gonna be like I thought the Bucks were really gonna go into Lambeau. This was me 2 days ago when I thought AB was playing, and I was like sipping the Brady syrup. I was like, all right, I think they'll probably win. I was probably predicting like a 35-27 game.
Yeah,
that's not whoop them, I guess, but that's like put up 35 points. Like that was my prediction. Now I think it'll be like a lot like a last game. I think it'll be in the 20s. I think it'll be like a 27-24 kind of close game like that.
Okay.
Who you got?
I don't know. I'm still trying to shake the image of you coming out pro blowjob and then talking about Brady syrup. I'm all thrown out of whack right now. Like
pro blowjob, Brady syrup. That
just got you? Okay. I mean, you're like sipping Brady syrup, and I'm just like, what? I get it, but did you say that out loud?
The Brady Kool-Aid, then. How about that?
That's usually what people say. Usually how, yeah.
I was trying to throw a rhyme. I got this mic in my face.
The Kool-Aid is usually first.
All right, pause to what I said because now
rewind, listen, scrap it. No,
listen and be like, all right, that was weird.
This is unedited. Sorry, bud. Yeah, I'm
gonna have to go back and edit this one.
I've always rocked with Brady. You know that, like.
I did it. I was mad. I was mad at Brady. You know, I hated Brady for the first 6 weeks of this year, and then I was
I know, but that's because you didn't realize what your actual affinity was.
I was just mad he left.
Well, because you thought the Patriots were the dynasty, not Brady, so that's your fault. You realized that too late. Because you were all on the Cam hype wagon. You're like, Cam will get us back. We'll be good. We won't miss a beat.
8 opt-outs. He still would have made the playoffs anyway.
And that would be it. Yeah, I always ride with Brady, especially in the Rodgers debate, because too many people have always been trying to be like, Rodgers is the actual GOAT, while Brady's actually cashing in and winning rings and breaking records. I'm like, how?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It drives me nuts because I feel like if LeBron and MJ played in the same era, people would call LeBron the GOAT, even though MJ would be racking off titles. Because Brady did that, and people still called Rodgers the GOAT. I'm like, wait. This dude's literally winning all the time.
I think it's just people. Some people prefer like Aaron Rodgers has more swag when he like throws the football and he scrambles in the pocket and like what he can do. And some people I think are tied or like really cling to the argument that he's a more talented quarterback per se.
And that's how they measure goatness. Yeah, I know.
Which doesn't make sense.
I agree.
Because I'm like, okay. Are we saying, and this is where I don't get, like, this is where you can never have a concrete debate in the GOAT conversation, because I'm like, are we debating who's a more talented player or who's had a better career? Because Tom Brady has had the best football career, period. Like, it's not even a debate.
I feel like it should be.
Nothing.
Well, because why do you play at the end of the day? You play.
I agree. And this is why I have to, this is why I say, and this is why you can, this is why Nick Wright, I don't get it, because if you're a LeBron fan, it would only make sense to be a Tom Brady fan because it's like the same kind of goatness because you're describing like resume. It's like whose resume is who's at the end of the day, who's taking their professional sports resume and is like stacking it up the best of the best and saying mine is the best. Tom Brady is like top of the top. It's like hard to even come close to his.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, that's my GOAT, because that's what it is. So that's why I'm like LeBron too. But LeBron, obviously, it's a lot closer, because if we're measuring championships, obviously there's MJ's right there with championships, Kobe's right there with championships. So that's where it's like whatever. But I'm like, it's the same argument though.
That's what I'm saying. I think this Sunday,
Longevity
yeah,
and like number of championships.
today is the opportunity to end the conversation, because the whole argument with against Brady's goatness was a product. I mean, Belichick's the greatest coach of all time, so it's like he's not actually doing it all. The Patriots have the best dynasty in sports, so it's not like he doesn't have help. And then he goes to the Bucks and he gets them to the NFC Championship game in year one. The freaking Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And I think what's good about
now,
the way you said that, though,
Rodgers in Lambeau, there is no more conversation.
There's no debate anymore.
Because you can't have like, oh, MJ LeBron's better than MJ, and then have MJ literally go into like Quicken Loans or whatever and like whoop him.
Yeah.
And then say, well, this happened, that happened. LeBron's still the good. No, he's not. Like that, they went head to head. It's over. We don't.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know why the idea of MJ at Quicken Loan Center in like 2007 just like came into my head, and like MJ giving off like 45. Like I don't know why.
Handing out a 40 piece in the
40 piece.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
When you watch it, if Brady wins today, I mean, I think he's the GOAT anyway. But for the people that are still hanging on to, Rodgers,
no,
is the
today would be
talent
undisputed.
ever.
Like today wouldn't even. It wouldn't even be close.
Like Rodgers wins today, and he puts himself further up the ladder in the conversation. Brady wins today, and there is no conversation.
No,
it's over. I don't ever want to hear it again.
If we're gonna be honest, if Rodgers wins today, that puts him in like the Peyton Manning conversation.
Yes, because he'll be going to get another. He'll be going to get his second ring and all that stuff.
Yeah,
agreed.
Which I still don't.
But if he loses at home to Brady in a Bucs uniform, it is over. The conversation is over.
If Brady really does, this is really some GOAT shit. If Brady
goes,
because think about it,
GOAT shit ever. He goes to a new ass team,
that has the Super Bowl in their home arena.
Yeah.
That would be some GOAT shit.
GOAT shit.
Like this is going to be one of the best chapters in the Brady book if he pulls this off.
Right. It would be like the ultimate. It'd be better than anything he's done in his career yet.
Skip Bayless is going to fucking lose his mind on Monday. Skip Bayless is going to lose his mind next week.
See, that's what I like. That's the one bad part about it is like I don't ride with Skip.
No, who does?
He's right. He's right on those 2 points. Like
who does? Who rides with Skip?
I know I don't. But like when he's on his MJ and his Brady bullshit, like I'm like, Skip, tell him.
You're just nostalgic of MJ, and then Brady. Great.
All right. See, this is why we're having Marcus on next week, because we're getting into this. We've had 6 weeks to be friends. We're getting this MJ LeBron stuff off our chest now.
All right, let's do it.
Episode 7 might be the last episode of Scurry and the Scurry.
No. We gotta have. I want to have this segment because I want call-ins too. I want to have call-ins for this.
Dude,
segment.
We can't. Well, how are we gonna do? I don't have a freaking. You have to. I got like a phone here sitting waiting for people. What do you
mean? Come on. We can Zoom somebody. We could put one more.
Oh, we want to zoom in strangers.
Yeah.
You want to?
No, we can. Yeah, we can get into. Yeah, zoom in strangers. Be like, all right, like weigh in. What's your ammo? And they'll be like, championships. Click out,
Yeah, what if we don't screen anybody and they're like mad from week 3 and they're like hella racist? Like, we don't screen them and they just start dropping M-bombs everywhere. Then how are you going to feel?
Oh, that could be fun. We could get into that combo. We get a white supremacist on Scurry and the Scrub. Boy.
You want to have like we just have a clan member on?
Turn me up. Get me a white supremacist.
We should go hit up David Duke from Providence and David Duke from the KKK and just have them like talk it out. Shit.
Scurry and the Scrub special. We're actually defeating racism with the Clash of David Dukes next week.
Clash of David Dukes next week. It's a battle for the name rights.
Battle for the name rights. We're either going to make this a negative name that no black person can ever have, or it is a solely black name for the rest of the time.
For the rest of time.
We're gonna do what we did to the N-word with the name David Duke, and like you can only. It's like say it if you're black. You could only we're gonna
You have like
culturally
white people going on
appropriate.
CNN. Well, why can't I say David Duke or why can't I name my kid David Duke like they do with the
You're
N-word?
like,
Why can't I say the
no,
N-word?
because that's part of the reparations. All
Yeah.
right, like that's
It
part of
is. It's part of the comeuppance. All
We
right?
own that name now. That's the
Yeah.
least you could do.
We took
That's
it
the
back.
least you
It's
can do.
ours. We can
It's
only
ours.
Dude, that's awesome.
Oh.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We
That's
want
a
your
great way
feedback.
to end. That's
Yeah,
a great
for
way to
real.
end. Oh wait, all right, wait. Give me you didn't go night game though. So who you got in the night game? And
Oh,
with
well,
that,
Mahomes is playing, so it's over.
I love it. Good. Bills Mafia, fuck you.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you're a Bills. You know what? Go Bills, because I forgot how much
Oh,
I hate.
see, you ruined it. I was
Well,
about
I
to
just didn't
end.
realize how much energy I had to channel to
I know
to
nobody
count.
from Bills Mafia is listening to this, so
I
fuck you,
want
Bills
to try to
Mafia,
provide balance
Pats
on this
Nation.
show. So like I forgot how much you hate them. So yeah,
Yeah.
need to count. I hope the Bills go in and work.
I
them
swear to
over.
God, if the Bills go to the Super Bowl, I'm getting off Twitter tonight. If anything, if the game was remotely close, I'm turning off the TV.
What if the Bills beat Brady in the Super Bowl? Like it just ends your whole reason for living.
I might never watch football again.
Yeah, I was gonna say you would never watch another NFL game ever.
Do you know what kind of mind fuck that would be? Like for every year of my life, Brady just used to wipe his ass with the Bills.
Yeah.
And then the last year, like the year he goes to Tampa Bay, he just gets beat by Stephon Diggs and
Yeah.
I don't even what is his name?
Because Brady would be all you have left in that
Wyoming.
game. It would feel like you'd be like, all right, I'm still here. This is still my guy. And then the
There's
Bills just
no way Brady
the Bills
loses the
just
Super
end
Bowl
that and
in
they start
Tampa
their
Bay.
they start their AFC
I should
East
just start
dynasty by
betting
beating
now,
Brady.
is what you're telling me. I should just start pooling my money on Brady right now. Because there's no way he's losing a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay.
To Buffalo of all teams.
They literally have a Buccaneer like ship in their stadium. Like,
yeah, they do. Yeah.
There's no way. Oh God, yeah. See, this is gonna be torture. Like, this is torture.
All right, everyone, hit us up with your feedback. We're gonna shoot out our emails because we said some crazy stuff, but we want this conversation to continue. So if you got things to say, we want to hear them. Otherwise, otherwise we're just gonna keep talking to ourselves.
Yeah,
which I don't mind.
not me either.
All right, so yeah, we'll chat back in next Sunday and see how right or wrong we were on our predictions. But
thanks for tuning in.
Peace.